Minister, the COVID defence and the COVID supports that the Taoiseach mentioned earlier, approved by the EU, have clearly shown to Ireland the benefits of EU membership. Membership has granted us availability of vaccines as soon as the technology was developed, and indeed our membership also allowed us access to EU purchasing power, which we could not have achieved on our own. It has also provided us with boosters for younger age groups, along with the latest in antiviral medicine, which allows us to continue to combat this serious disease. And indeed, access to vaccines and boosters is the primary reason why we in Ireland are now emerging from the worst ravages of COVID and the Omicron wave. The Taoiseach outlined how the EU is now the largest donor of vaccines to the developing world, and acknowledged that 1.7 billion doses had already been delivered to developing nations. Indeed, he said the manufacturing was at such scale that potentially global distribution and rollout can now be achieved. And he says we have to work with our EU partners in terms of distributing COVID vaccines. I think, Minister, this also highlights the issue of the potential for a variant of concern while the developed world remains unvaccinated. And I think it also calls into question the present policy of Ireland and the Government to not support the TRIPS waiver that would allow for mRNA vaccine technology manufacture to be implemented under licence in the developing world, ensuring a faster rollout of vaccines. Has the Government taken any time, Minister, to reconsider its position on TRIPS? The Taoiseach also spoke about energy and the rising energy prices that are of concern across the EU, particularly in oil and gas. And he mentioned the Cabinet approval of €210 million to provide a rebate to all households to offset rising energy costs. Unfortunately, it is a fact that energy costs are here to stay for some time, and there would not be another rebate, I would imagine, for a very long time. What is the future of our overseas gas supply, given the European dependence on Russian gas? We have made much of Ireland's potential to generate electricity from offshore wind, but in truth, we are more than a decade away from seeing this implemented to any great scale. So we have to depend on the supply coming through the UK and from our EU partners. The developing situation in Ukraine must give us all pause for thought. The Russian massing of troops and tanks close to the Ukraine border is a deeply symbolic act of potential aggression against its neighbour. And indeed, the proposed Russian Navy live-fire exercises to be conducted in Ireland's marine economic zone is also an unwelcome act of sabre-rattling to the EU. The issue of Ukrainian sovereignty and its potential rights to either join or align with NATO appears to be the main concern of President Putin and his Kremlin officials. What is the official Irish policy, Minister, and can you enunciate it for us, please, how it relates to our European partners? Does this latest international emergency not yet again question Ireland's ability to defend itself and for our defence forces to monitor our land and sea areas effectively, as well as to patrol our skies? We may be neutral, Minister, but does this mean that our defence forces must remain neutered due to years of underfunding? And when will this situation be resolved? In terms of financial recovery post-COVID, the Taoiseach mentioned the concerns in the EU regarding the rising inflation and the headwind it represents to future Union economic growth. Ireland, it appears, is to support further and deeper banking union and banking mandates. It has to be said that at present the choice available to domestic customers in Ireland is at an all-time low. It is not uncommon at present, Minister, for small builders in this country to access finance from larger builders at an annual percentage rate of up to 10%, simply because they cannot borrow now from the remaining pillar banks, who have a zero appetite to any risk and are only willing to support small home builders when they have a contract in place with the local authority for the sale of their houses. The present Government for All strategy, I would suggest, Minister, has got to find a way to address this issue of builder finance. The Taoiseach also remembered the signing of our treaty in 1973, and it has to be said Ireland has come a long way in terms of economic growth, improved standards of living and greater diversity in our population as a result of our membership of the EU. I think it has to be said too we have benefited from EU law and EU standards. And we hope that will continue to be the case, and I think we will continue to be a strong advocate of EU cohesion and EU policy. The financial landscape, it appears at present, is favourable or proving favourable, but we must take every step in the future, Minister, now to ensure any uplift in the tide lifts prosperity for all boats in our society.
Deputy, our next